Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com.
May one make Kiddush over white wine? You may have heard many different things regarding white wine, some for and some against, and no, I'm not talking about the taste, but in terms of its validity for Kiddush. Some say white wine is banned from the Kiddush table. You can never say Kiddush on white wine. Wine must be red for Kiddush. And others say, what are you talking about? Red wine is good, white wine is good, whatever you like, you take, everything is valid. What in truth does halacha have to say about white wine? Why is it under such controversy? And what practically is the directive for one to do to make Kiddush on it, to not make Kiddush on it, only if you don't have red wine available? What's the deal? So before we begin, we must clarify that our entire discussion here in this lesson is solely regarding Kiddush of Shabbos and Yantiv and Havdalah, and not the 4 cups by the Seder, to which additional stringencies are relevant, as we will discuss in a further lesson that details and focuses specifically on using white wine for the Seder. But from this itself we can understand that perhaps some people have a misconception regarding white wine due to its stringent state on the Seder night, and they apply it to throughout the year regarding Kiddush as well, which, as we will now see, is not fully accurate. So let's begin. We have a Gemara in Maseches Bava Basra, page 97b. Ba minei Rav Kahana chamoyed Rav Mesharshia merava chama chivrin mahu. So Rav Kahana himself asks our very question of this halacha today: what is the deal with white wine? Is it kosher? To which Rava replied, says the Gemara, Amar le Yaltira Yayin Ki Yisadin. Rava quoted a verse from Mishlei, chapter 23, verse 31, which it states, sagely advised from King Solomon, do not see wine, meaning don't drink it, as it's red, meaning that it makes you drunk, explains the Rashbam. Now the fact that King Shlomo described wine in the verse as red implies that when is wine considered wine? When it's red. If it's not red, it's not wine. The implied understanding from this Gemara is that Rava is in essence answering that it is invalid to use white wine for Kiddush. And so understands the Ramban there in Bava Basra, and so explains the Ran in Psachim 22b, and so rules some Paiskim. However, the Ritva there in Bava Basra explains differently. He says, we have another Gemara in the Yerushalmi, in fact it's in two places, Rabbi Yirmiyah in Yerushalmi, Psachim 10.1 and Shkalim 3.2, which implies that using white wine is valid and only lechatchila should be avoided, but it's valid, b'diavad. And therefore the Ritva in truth concludes that lechatchila you should avoid white wine, but b'diavad, white wine is valid as well. However, we find a further third approach in the Rishonim, which is that white wine is completely valid even lechatchila. These Rishonim don't explicitly say these words, however, their lack of words and omitted statements speak louder than any words. The Rif, the Rosh, and the Rambam all omit completely from their Sfarim any mention of invalidation of white wine. They completely omit these Gemaras. And so is explicitly understood from the Rashbam, there in Psachim, and other Achreinim, that these Rishonim understand that the entire Gemara here in Bava Basra was dealing with libation offerings, Yayin Nesachim. That white wine is invalid for Nesachim. But for Kiddush, no one was talking about that. Of course white wine is valid for Kiddush, even initially. So to summarize, we find 3 opinions and approaches in the Rishonim. Some completely invalidate white wine for Kiddush. Some say lechatchila no good, but b'diavad it's valid. And some say even initially it's okay. So how do we rule? The Mechaber in the Shulchanaruch in chapter 272, Halacha 4, records both opinions and concludes that the minhag ha'olam is to make Kiddush on white wine. The Alter Rebbe in his Shulchanaruch arbitrates this matter as follows. In 272 Halacha 5 and mainly in 472 Halacha 26, when discussing whether you can make Kiddush on white wine during the Dalet Kaisis on the night of the Seder. And there he explains as follows: white wine is even lechatchila allowed and valid for making Kiddush on Shabbos and Yantiv by day and by night. However, since it's a mitzvah namuvcher to choose the greatest quality wine available in the store or in your home, So if the red wine is of greater quality, choose the red wine. However, if the red and white wine are of equal quality, you like both of them, or the white wine tastes better, you enjoy it more, then you are specifically to take the white wine. And if they're equal, then you can take whatever you want. But there's no advantage, rules the Alter Rebbe, or necessity to take the red wine over the white wine. And only if the white wine isn't good quality and the red is, that's when we proceed red wine. And practically this is the final ruling for all those who follow the rulings of the Alter Rebbe, that by Kiddush, whether night or day or Havdalah, you can always use white wine if that's what you like. However, many Sfardim are accustomed to follow the ruling of the Kaf HaChaim and previous Sfardi Poskim, who initially invalidate using white wine unless you don't have red wine available or the red wine is very poor quality. And therefore, by the nighttime Kiddush, they will always try to say Kiddush only over red wine. This is likewise the conclusion of the Mishnah Brura in 272. Pilichatchila always use red wine. However, they only refer to the nighttime Kiddush. Over the daytime Kiddush and Havdalah, everyone agrees you can use white wine, even lechatchila. So to summarize halacha l'maaseh, according to the rulings of the Alter Rebbe and the Shulchanaruch, you can even initially use white wine if that's what you like and you don't like the red wine more. The Sfardim following the Mishnah Brura, following the Kaf HaChaim, and some Ashkenazim following the Mishnah Brura, avoid white wine during the night unless there's nothing else available. We will now clarify a few points relating to white wine, and that is, number one, rose-colored wine is not considered white, and therefore it's valid initially according to all approaches and opinions, Sfardim and Ashkenazim, Mishnah Brura and Alter Rebbe. It's only very white wine that is under the discussion. Number two, regarding mixing red wine with white wine so the white wine becomes reddish, this is subject to discussion and posting regarding if doing so transgresses the tzeveya, the dyeing prohibition, and practically the final ruling is that it's permitted to do so, although it is best to pour the red wine in first and only then pour the white wine into it, as explained in the article. Note once again that this entire discussion today was only regarding using white wine for Kiddush and Havdalah. Regarding the Dalet cases, the 4 cups the night of the Seder, that is a further discussion with other stringencies added, as we will discuss in Mirz Hashem in the future.
Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at Shulchanaruchharav.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many Sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.